Hello and welcome back to another video. This is the fourth episode of story in which before his death, Minato had created a tool that was meant to succeed the Hiraishin. But now that he's passed it on to his kid, what will Naruto do with the power to control time and space? Please smash the like and subscribe buttons. Let's get started. Thoughts. Naruto sat cross-legged with folded arms as he stared intensely at the old man who was staring back at him in the same position. Another week had passed since Jiraiya had become his temporary teacher. However, things weren't progressing very well as the old sage tried to explain something important to him to which the young blonde didn't understand very well. Although he was surprised at how much Jiraiya knew about him. Flashback, you know about the Kyuubi, exclaimed Naruto as he was bashful at learning this. But then again, if he really thought about it, almost every adult in Konoha should have known he was the Kyuubi's Jinchuriki. However, what really got him moving was what the old sage had said. Of course I do, but now I want to teach you how to control it, said Jiraiya thoughtfully. I think it's about time you put that power to good use. Naruto then looked away as he slightly shivered a bit. But aren't you scared of the power inside me? The young blonde at this time recalled how many adults reacted around him from just simply his presence alone. Up to his present time, he now understood why they were afraid of him. But then he questioned, was it a good idea for him to learn a power that people were afraid of? Jiraiya simply grinned at this. Don't be such a punk. I wouldn't be teaching you if I were scared of you, you know. Besides, you remind me of a certain brat I knew a long time ago, as he patted his head. Besides, I know you're a good kid and there's nothing more to it than that. He then gave a smirk. So I have faith in you to know how to use your power wisely. Really? Of course, said the old sage as he then gave wide reassuring smile. Naruto immediately brightened up to this. Thanks, so where do we start? First we need to get you to talk to your bijou. End flashback. But to be rather frank, Jiraiya didn't really know how to make this work. What he knew was based on what he understood of Jinchurikis and their relationship with their bijous. But from what he heard thus far, it was rather uncommon to practically rare for a Jinchuriki and their bijou to get along. However, what was at least common was that each Jinchuriki should have been able to at least talk to their tailed beast. The only problem was, neither of them didn't have a clue on how to make this connection. As for Naruto, he was aware the orange chakra he used before was the Kyuubi's. But the last time he used it was from pure instinct, because from then till now he wasn't able to call it again. Man, kid, you really suck at this, plainly stated Jiraiya as he now looked half bored to Naruto. Well, maybe you're just a lousy teacher, he then retorted. Your explanations don't really make a whole lot of sense, and how the hell am I supposed to talk to the stupid fox? Besides, you said you would teach me something useful by now. Tisk, as the old sage then looked away. You know what my price is? What? As Naruto's face displayed shock, there's no way in hell I'm doing that. Well, I'm not going to teach you anything else unless you pay up. I refuse to pay you in that. Well, tough luck then, and I was even thinking about teaching you something good. Naruto slightly growled at this as he soon got up to leave. At watching him leave, Jiraiya couldn't help but snicker a bit. That'll show that brat to get me caught in one of my research missions. But then he looked up as he stared into the sky. As looked, he quietly contemplated what he was supposed to do now. But how am I going to make this work? The old sage soon closed his eyes in thought. If only his mother were still here. Konoha, elsewhere, Naruto was fuming as he stealthily snuck around a certain building in the village. Damn Ero-sanin, making me do such a stupid thing like this, he grunted. As things were, every person in the world had something they valued. Some valued money, some valued gold, and others valued whatever materialism they had. But for an A-class pervert, there existed only one currency in the world that was universal to all peepers. At this time Naruto was stalking the outsides of a laundry mat to make sure no one was inside to witness him do the deed of stealing some panties. But then he grunted, Damn that old man for making me do this. Upon entering, a nefarious idea came to mind to which he believed would even out the score. Yeah, this ought to show him, as he started to weave a few seals forming his jutsu. Upon completing it, he waited a moment before going and casually opening one of the machines, taking some of the garments as he casually walked out again. To some of the women who were there, who was that? Konoha. Elsewhere, upon his return to their training area, he found Jiraiya hiding in some bushes as he appeared to be ogling some girls who were playing at a large waterfall. And this is supposed to be some great legend? Hey Ero-sanin. Here is my tuition, as he dropped the undergarments. Now teach me something useful. The old sage soon climbed out looking sour like a child being pulled away from his favorite toy. Yeah, I got ya. Then nicking his thumb as he drew a bloodline across his palm, he began weaving a few seals as he then slammed his hand against the ground. Kuchiyos no Jutsu. In a blast of smoke, a toad appeared as he then unrolled his tongue revealing a scroll with a few names on it. What's this? It's the toad summoning contract, as Jiraiya unrolled the parchment a bit further revealing an empty slot. So just write your name here in blood along with your palm print and you should be able to perform the summoning. Then weaving the seals, and these are the symbols you'll need to do it. So remember it well. Naruto practiced the order a few times until he was certain he got it down right. Alright, I think I got it now. Well, give it a try then. The blonde closed his eyes in thought before reopening them. Alright, here goes nothing. He then nicked his thumb drawing a blood line across his palm as he began weaving the seals. Upon completion he charged as much power as he could focus into his hand as he slammed it against the ground. Kuchiyos no Jutsu. In blast of smoke, it soon dissipated to reveal a small orange toad. Yo! My name is Gamakichi. So who the hell are you? And why did you summon me? Holy crap. I did it, cheered Naruto. Heh, not bad, smirked Jiraiya. The blonde then looked to the larger toad the old sage had summoned. But I was hoping to summon something like that though. Well, you did well for a first try. So count that as something. But I wanted to summon something bigger. The pair then heard a cough as they looked down to the little orange toad. It's not polite to talk little of anyone you know. Naruto blinked at this as he sheepishly rubbed the back of his head. Sorry about that. As I was saying before, I'm Gamakichi. So who are you? Uzumaki Naruto, the next greatest Hokage. The little orange toad blinked at this for a moment before breaking out into a laugh. That's a really good joke. Please tell me another one. Hey. I was being serious. Right, if you're going to be Hokage then I'll grow to be the size of a boulder. Fine, I'll show you. I'll summon a toad 5 times bigger than you, as he began weaving the seals. That'll show you I can do it. He then slammed his hand against the ground as a blast of smoke appeared. As the mist began to clear there was a small yellow toad. Yeah, 5 times bigger, laughed Gamakichi. More like 5 times heavier. I can't believe you summoned my idiot brother Gamatatsu. Gamakichi. Please don't call me that. Naruto growled at this. Alright, again, to which he summoned a small toad. Again, repeating the same event. Again, doing another repeat. Again, to which he summoned another similar-sized toad. After an nth amount of tries it appeared that he summoned an entire family of toads. You've got to be kidding me. Wow. Now you're just being pathetic, sweat dropped Gamakichi, to which the rest of his brothers and sisters did the same. Hey Ero-sanin, said Naruto now looking a bit saddened. Why can't I get anything bigger? What am I doing wrong? Jiraiya looked out to all the frogs that waved to him as he then looked back to Naruto. You simply aren't using enough power, he said rather bluntly. Huh? I'm at the highest of what I can control with this jutsu. How can that not be enough power? Look Naruto, you're still just a kid. Summoning something is directly proportional to how much chakra you're using, and with toads of this size not to mention this many is already pretty damn good for someone your age and rank. But simply the power needed to summon something bigger. Well, you either need to dump a ton of power into it or your chakra has to be extremely potent to do it. He then poked the blonde in the forehead. So just be happy, brat, that you were able to do this much. No way, not until I summon something just as big or bigger than your toad, pointing out the obvious size difference. So tell me how to do it. The amount of chakra I'm using can easily summon 50 clones. So what am I doing wrong? Jiraiya gave a heavy sigh to this. Look, every technique requires a different quota of chakra to be used, to which in this case you would either need to stabilize a huge amount of chakra or have chakra that was extremely concentrated. Either way, it's something you can't accomplish in a day. So stop your whining, will you? Naruto looked downcast at this until he looked up in thought. What about the Kyuubi's chakra? The Kyuubi's? Yeah. I could definitely tell how dense its power was when I used it. Is there a way I can use that? Well, I suppose that could work. But then again. What? The old sage then gave him a scrutinizing look. You can't even do the least bit of even talking to it. Naruto gaped at this, as he was absolutely right. Well, come on. Then let's learn already how to do this then. But at that statement Jiraiya looked directly at him, giving the boy quite the serious stare. I know of a fast way to get you to talk to your bijou, but... What? What is it? Then asked Naruto, feeling slightly excited of what this solution could be. This method is extremely dangerous. I don't want you to be doing it. Oh, come on. I'm a ninja of Konoha. I refuse to back down from any kind of danger, no matter what it is. So tell me what it is already. Jiraiya looked to the boy once more. Are you sure about this? Of course I am. The old sage then closed his eyes in thought before reopening them. Follow me. Okay, as Naruto noticed how unusual the old man was acting now. After a bit of walking they arrived at a ravine. As Naruto looked down he couldn't even see the bottom, as it was practically an endless abyss. Okay, so how is this supposed to help me? Before I tell you anything, you have your watch on you, right? Yeah, I always like to keep it with me. I want you to give it to me. Huh? Why? For this method to work, I need you to be focused on one thing. Focused? Focused on what? Are you going to do this or not? As Jiraiya began to seem a bit impatient. Alright, no need to get all grump on me, as he then handed over his watch. So what is it already? What is this sure fine way that'll get that stupid fox to talk to me? As he looked over the edge. But before he knew what had happened, he was pushed from behind as he started to fall in. What? And just like that the young blonde began to free fall in. To be rather frank, Jiraiya rather preferred Naruto to learn to talk to the Kyuubi with time. But a storm was coming, and the world was going to feel its turbulence. With the power Naruto had resting inside him, he needed to be ready when the time came that the world needed saving. Now looking out to Naruto as he struggled to stay alive, he had faith in the boy. In order for a Jinchuriki to communicate with their bijou, they needed to look deep inside themselves to meet them in the only place they could be, their soul. For some containers the communication was a slow but gradual process. However, the best way to yield the best results was to place the Jinchuriki in a high-stress situation, or in other words under the threat of death, to which the most basic human instincts would kick in, as they would then be forced to look deep inside themselves for that one moment of clarity to survive. As Jiraiya watched him fall, he was still his godfather, which made him worry about the situation he literally pushed him into. Even though he had safety precautions put into place. Come on, kid. You can do it. Meanwhile the Toad family who were watching this was in absolute shock. Wow, that's cold, said Gamakichi. Yeah, said Gamatatsu. Naruto at this time was panicking like hell as he continued to free fall, entering terminal velocity as he couldn't slow down his descent. He tried everything he knew from chakra sticking to the Bunshin ladder. But simply he was falling too fast and the rocks were too slippery, making it impossible for himself to save himself. As he continued to fall. Am I going to die? As he felt like every muscle in his body had just gone numb in fear. Just as he was about completely cave into fear, everything went dark. Inner world. Where am I? As Naruto blinked, he double-checked his eyes to make sure what he was seeing was right as he quickly checked his body to make sure he was there. He then looked around. Okay. So where am I exactly? I thought I was in the middle of falling. So not knowing what to do, he began to wander around. As he quietly went along, it started to come to him where he might be. Is this supposed to be my soul? Why is it so bland in here? And why is the water all the way up to my ankles? Is the plumbing in here broken or something? He then looked up in thought. I don't think I can get any plumber service in here. But as he continued to quietly walk around, he started to feel it. The power he felt before back at Wave Country. So following his senses, he began walking down hallway to hallway, passing by from door to door until he ran into a rather large opening in the wall. Upon circling in, that's where he saw it. So you've come, I see, as the Kyuubi smiled to him in its Cheshire-like form. Naruto shook a bit at feeling the booming sound of the demon's voice. So you're the thing that's been inside me all this time. As the blonde stood before the enormous beast, he could honestly say he felt somewhat intimidated by it. Even though it was behind a cage, the Kyuubi's presence was indeed quite fearsome from just simply standing before it. The fox demon growled a bit, so what brings a little brat like you here? The blonde Jinchuriki steeled himself as he approached the Kyuubi. Then arriving close enough, he calmed himself as he displayed a rather confident smirk while staring eye to eye with the demon. I don't really have the time to be chatting it up with you, but since I'm letting your lazy have a room here, I want you to start paying up the rent. So you can start by giving me your chakra. The Kyuubi watched the boy in silence until it started to let out a crackling howl of laughter. Rather amusing boy, there have been few humans who would dare talk down to me like this, let alone a child. But then staring at the boy, I'll entertain you for now. So let us see how things will turn out. With that, the fox began releasing its power as it soon surrounded and engulfed Naruto in its malevolent aura. Konoha, physical world. Naruto's eyes soon snapped open as he could feel the fox's power energize every cell in his body. He didn't know how long he was gone, but it didn't appear for long as it seemed as nothing had changed much around him. Then looking ahead, he saw the last rock formation within sight. Going through his options, Naruto did the only technique he could think of that would get him out of this predicament. So quickly going through the right symbols, Kuchios no Jutsu. In a blast of smoke he was surprised to see what he was standing on, and it was a giant toad roughly as big as the Kyuubi itself. Yeah. I did it. I summoned a supermassive toad, cheered Naruto as he was happily jumping around. And his celebration would have continued as such if a large angry voice didn't disturb him. Who is standing on my head? It thundered. Huh? I said who is standing on my head? Uzumaki Naruto. The person who summoned you, as the blonde began to shrink back a bit. As he saw it, the giant toad didn't seem too friendly, and it wasn't a good idea to piss off the thing that was keeping you from falling. My summoner, scoffed the giant frog. Do you know who I am? I am the boss frog Gamabunta, and I don't just let anyone get on my head. So why should I allow you? Naruto was now starting to get a bit irritated. Hey! I summoned you. So that makes me your master, right? So you have to listen to me. What? He then thundered. Do you dare to order me around? Naruto immediately shrank at this. Sorry, I'm so sorry. Please forgive me. Gamabunta narrowed his eye as he stared up at the small boy on his head. Very well then, from now on you'll be my kohai, understand? Yes sir, as Naruto stood up in salute. Meanwhile up above, everyone was surprised to who appeared. I can't believe he summoned him of all the frogs, said Jiraiya. Wow, Pops decided to make him one of his protégés, said Gamakichi. That's great, can we get something to eat now, then said Gamatatsu. Then for the most part Gamabunta returned Naruto and himself back to the surface, to which he confirmed Naruto's truth of being a contract holder. Then after a few words and goodbyes, the Toad family returned back to their home as Naruto and Jiraiya decided to call it a day. Konoha, Ichiraku, evening, you did good kid. Accomplished quite a bit in such a short time, said Jiraiya. Thanks, smirked Naruto. What did you expect from a future Hokage? Right, then said the old sage as he took a slurp of his noodles. By the way brat, what's the story about the watch? The watch? Jiraiya then gave the young blonde a nuggie on his head. Don't be coy you little twerp. I'm well aware of what that watch is, as it's usually my business to know things like that. Naruto rubbed his head as he continued to eat his ramen. It belonged to my dad. Your dad you say, as Jiraiya's eyes widened in interest. So how much do you know about the guy? My dad? Well. Not anything really, as he gave a bit of a sigh. I don't even know his name and Ji-san won't tell me, as he said he'll tell me when I get older. But I think he was a pretty amazing guy. The old sage grinned at this, you don't even know the half of it. So what makes you think that? He must have been really smart to be able to come up with such an amazing creation. Naruto then looked up from his meal and thought, but there are just so many things I wanted to ask him. Like what? Like who was he? Who was mom? And stuff like that, you know. But also, the notes he left behind had a ton of vague things I didn't understand. What do you mean? Well, as he looked up in thought. Like what was the true purpose of the watch? True purpose? Yeah, my dad referenced that for all the abilities it had, its true purpose was to perform one function. And I'm guessing you know what that function is already. Well sort of, then said Naruto. I don't really understand what it means exactly, as it seems to talk about a lot of stuff I can't really comprehend. But out of everything, it seemed to stress one adamant idea, which was simply that I should never use it. Why is that? The boy simply shrugged at this. I don't know, it's one of things I wanted to ask him. But enough about that, let's get some ramen in me, as he started to slurp happily away at his meal. However, Jiraiya's gaze became solid as he understood Minato's words as his former student had explained it to him once. Simply that function could be considered both a great gift, but also a great curse. But it's something Naruto must understand on his own. There he is. That's the pervert who stole my panties. The old sage looked back to see a mob of angry women and kunoichi alike. As they brought the entire works such as torches and pitchforks, as they slowly began to gang up on him. Are they hunting a monster or something? He then looked to his side to see Naruto giving him a cheek-to-cheek smile. What did you do? You know, when you had me stealing panties for you, it irked me. So I used my henge to look like you as I went from laundry mat to laundry mat getting the tuition you wanted. What did you say? You're getting me into trouble for something like that? Don't you remember that you got me busted at the spa? Yeah, but then you pushed me off a cliff. So I think this more or less makes up even. But that was for your training purpose. Hence more or less, as he then simply returned back to his ramen. Jiraiya looked out to the angry mob as he waved his hands innocently. I swear it wasn't me this time. I'm being set up. Please believe me. No way, pervert. It's time you're brought in for your crimes. You should just die already, you old fart. Come on girls, let's get him. Wait. It's this kid here, as he pointed to Naruto. It was one of his pranks. Come on you little brat, tell them. The blonde Jinchuriki simply looked to him as he slapped one hand to his cheek as he pointed to him. Hey! Take a look at what he has in his pocket. Jiraiya checked his pocket, pulling out a lacy black panty. When in the hell did he do that? Hey, those are mine. That's it, let's get this scumbag. Go. 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 The old sage grunted at this as he immediately started to run for his life. Just before getting out of hearing range, I'll get you for this. Naruto snickered as he then pulled Jiraiya's now vacant ramen bowl to him. Yeah, more for me. Was it alright to do that? Asked Tucci as the mob of women continued to run by his shop like a stampede. I mean, will he really be alright? He's the greatest legend Konoha has ever seen, hero to those who know his name, savior by those who revere him, and champion for those who know his greatness. For that guy is the great Jiraiya, the Toad Sage of Konoha, emphasizing the antic he showed him earlier that week. Oh yeah, one more thing. What is it? Put all my meals here on his tab as I'll be ordering 2 more bowls now. Hey, make sure you get the banner up right. Takoyaki here for sale. Get your takoyaki. Calligraphy. Get your officially signed calligraphy. A week had passed as it was now the eve to the Chunin exams. At this time the village of Konoha was bustling in business, from food stands to commemoration shops, as everyone was excited to the upcoming tournament. Even people around Fire Country were excited as some attempted to reserve seats in the Grand Stadium. But unfortunately most seats had already been reserved for officials and lords to watch the matches, as anything left usually went to the Konoha villagers. However, that did not stop many from attending, as they would observe the matches from any place they could. In addition, since ninjas from Suna were also competing, some of the jonins, lords, and even the Kazekage himself were attending to watch the progress of their genin. Now at this time the participants were all preparing for the upcoming challenges they would face. Konoha, Nara residence, Shikamaru, called Yoshino Nara, Shikamaru's mom. Where are you? You're going to be late for your exam. The elder woman soon made her way up to her son's room, and as she opened the door a very peeved look could not help but appear on her face. At this time, Shikamaru was still in bed, very much asleep, as it was at this point only a few hours away before the Chunin exam was going to start. Yoshino couldn't help but feel one of her veins pop out in fury to her son's extreme lack of ambition. Shikamaru, her tone reflected venomously as one of her fists rose in agitation. As the shadow ninja was still somewhat not really paying attention. Wake up right now. You have an exam to take in a few hours. Shikamaru partly opened his eyes as he soon closed them again. But I'm tired, can't I just forfeit and let it be over with? No, she then exclaimed angrily. I swear. You have no drive, just like your father. If you just applied yourself more you can be a great ninja. Now get out of bed and get ready. I don't want to, as he then pulled his blanket over his head. Shikamaru, as his mom then ripped the covers off, forcing Shikamaru to sit up, looking to her wearily. Good, now breakfast will be waiting for you downstairs. You better eat up as you'll need your strength for the matches, to which Yoshino turned to leave. Troublesome woman. What was that, as her head turned back glaring at her son? Shikamaru could only shudder at this as he soon gave a sigh. Yes, Mom. Good, as she then finally left. Finally leaving the door, Shikamaru's dad, appeared watching his wife leave as he then looked back to his son. Yeah, good luck, son. Konoha, Akimichi residence, both Chuji's mom and dad were blinking as they were somewhat taken back as they watched their son practically drinking down his food without reserve. Chuji. I think you should take it easy, son, said Choza, to which his wife nodded too. Chuji then placed his food down to speak. But I have to eat. I'll need all the energy I can store for the upcoming matches. Chuji's mom then smiled at this. It's good to see your enthusiasm, Chuji-chan. But I really think you should take it easy. I know, Mom, but Asuma-sensei really encouraged me to do my best and I don't want to let him down. Plus you and Dad will be watching, right? So I really want to try to make it, as he soon began eating again, trying to get as much food into his body as fast as he can. Choza and his wife smiled to this as they were glad to see their son having higher confidence in himself. Konoha, training ground, Niji at this time was getting in some last-minute practice as he had many assorted weapons around him in a perfect circular shape. Ten was also present as she appeared exhausted from chucking weapons at him all morning. So calming herself after a few breaths, "It looks really good, Niji. Your Byakugan is even better and your Kaden is perfect. There's no way you can lose at the tournament." "No." The weapon mistress looked to him in peculiarity. "No. What are you talking about? You were ranked the strongest genin of our generation." The Hyuga prodigy closed his eyes as he reflected on everything he knew thus far. He was up against Naruto, and if his assumptions were right about him, "I'll make certain I crush him. Niji." But then after a moment the pair left towards the stadium. Konoha, Haruno residence, Sakura was looking over her research notes, confirming that all her hard work during the month was not in vain. So packing the tools she created from her work, she placed them in her ninja bag as she then strapped it to her waist. So making her way downstairs, she exchanged a few words of pleasantries with her parents as they wished her good luck as well as hoped they could get a good spot to watch her match in the tournament. Then departing from her home, Sakura was soon bumped into by Ino as she walked side by side with her friend. "Good luck, forehead girl. I'll definitely be rooting for you to win," said Ino. "Thanks, but don't forget that I'll have to fight either Chujikoun or Hinata-san depending on whoever wins their match. So don't forget to cheer for them too, okay?" "That's rather gracious of you," Ino then smirked. "Well, they are our friends. I just want us to have a good match." "I see," the light blonde then said. "By the way, how has Lee been? I've heard you've been visiting him in the hospital during your free time from your library binges." Sakura looked a bit down at the question. "Lee is still suffering from severe injuries. But even being so hurt, he continues to try and train to maintain his strength. As admirable as it is, Lee. He needs to rest or else he'll never recover." "So what will he be doing now?" The pink kunoichi then looked up at this. "Lee will be attending the tournament to cheer for everyone. He looked very enthusiastic about it too." Ino nodded as she continued to walk with her friend. Concerning the green beast, it was best not to poke about this topic. Like her friend, she too visited Lee with Sakura. Looking at Lee's current state, it was obvious to tell he wasn't his usual flamboyant self. After the crushing defeat he suffered, there was no telling how incredibly shaken his spirit was. From what she heard, Lee was handicapped when it came to ninjutsu and genjutsu. So it was his dream to be an accomplished ninja with just his taijutsu alone. Even after all his hard work, he still suffered such a defeat. But for now it was best to just to support him until he recovered and was back on his feet again. And with that the pair made their way to the stadium. "By the way, Sakura, can't you just tell me what your secret weapon is?" "That you're going to have to wait and see." Konoha, Hyuga residence, Hayashi walked along the hallway of his estate. At this time he was preparing to go the stadium as he just recently sent for Hanabi to prepare to go watch her sister's and cousin's tournament match. As he crossed through the central garden of his estate, he couldn't help but raise one of his eyebrows in curiosity to a scene he was seeing. For a week prior, he decided to give his daughter that time off to rest and do whatever she wished, seeing at how hard she worked during the month. Now for some of that time, he knew Hinata spent it hanging around Naruto. But for the most part, he usually found her where she usually was to what he was looking at now. At this moment Hinata seemed to have been sitting in the middle of the pond cross-legged with her hands resting on her lap as she had her eyes closed as if in deep meditation. The elder Hyuga couldn't even come close to comprehending what his daughter was doing. But he would like to assume it was important if she would sit there for hours on end without moving. "Hinata, you're going to be late to your exam, you should be going now." The Hyuga heiress slowly opened her eyes as she stood up to face him. Of course father, I'll be going now. As she turned to leave, Hinata was still uncertain if her new technique was ready to be field tested. Simply it required a fine-tuned balance between her mind and body to use this jutsu. But if the situation proves as such then she'll use it. Oi, Hinata-nizan. Hinata looked to see her sister leaning on her door frame looking to her in a neutral kind of stare. Yes Hanabi. Is there something you want? The young Hyuga then looked away as her eyes narrowed a bit. Good luck. Hinata blinked at this as she then gave a warm smile. Thank you Hanabi-chan. Stop calling me that. Konoha, Aburame residence, Shino at this time sat across the table from his father Shibi as it would seem like they were staring blankly at each other from an outsider's point of view. As time progressed only silence remained between them, but after a few more minutes. Good to have this father-son moment, said Shibi. Of course, then said Shino. Good luck son. Thank you father, I'll do my best. Konoha, outskirts, the San siblings had now returned back to Konoha to participate in the final round of the Chunin exams. However their purpose there was not to pass, but instead for another nefarious plot as they were also accompanied by a small group of jonins from Suna. Do you remember the signal? One of them asked. Kankuro nodded. Of course, that's when. The plan shall start. Just make sure the key to our plan knows when to start, he then whispered. Temari gave a nod to this as she looked to her little brother Gaara. Just like Kankuro, they were scared to be left alone with him for too long. Simply the boy was psychologically unstable as he would have sudden spurts of anger and bloodlust. For the last jonin that was unlucky enough to babysit him, well. By the end of it his dead body could only be collected by mop. But after meeting the blonde brat from the second exam, something changed in her brother as he seemed even more unstable than before. But this was just the more reason for them to keep their distance from him. However they were on a mission and it was their job to make certain they complete it. Unknown place Sasuke smirked as his hand crackled in relation to a new technique he had just learned from his team's teacher. During the past month, Kakashi trained him in the many aspects of the Sharingan in working to improve it while conditioning his body to not only just complement his Jujutsu but to also handle the new technique he just learned. As he thought about it, he was now a step closer in achieving his ultimate goal of revenge. But now looking to the sky as the sun passed overhead, he was just curious about one particular thing. Kakashi-sensei, we're not going to be late are we? Of course not, then said the silver-haired jonin. We'll make it to the exam on time. The young Uchiha's eyes narrowed at this. Sensei. Yeah. We better not be like an hour late to the exam. Don't worry, you'll make it there on time. Sasuke could only help but give a tired sigh to this. I'm so going to be late. Konoha, Naruto's apartment. With his last week to train and with Jiraiya still running around from the manhunt, Naruto decided to polish his technique a bit more as he had a tough fight ahead of him. Seeing that he was up against Hinata's cousin, he was definitely an opponent not to take lightly. For he was aware of some of the more advanced techniques the Hyuga used as demonstrated by his friend. With his last week to train, he thought hard about what he could do to counter them. He knew about the 8 trigram 64 palm. Honestly he couldn't think of anything good to counter it besides run fast and don't get caught. As for Kaden, he did have a technique in mind that might be able to defeat it. But since Hinata was his partner, he couldn't go through with his test in not wanting to risk hurting her. So this was going to have to wait until his match with Neji to see if it worked. So as Naruto prepared himself for the long upcoming day the blonde Jinchuriki ate his breakfast, got dressed, prepared his ninja pack for what he believed he would need, and finally double-checking to see if he forgot anything he was now ready to leave. But looking to his desk now, Naruto saw his father watch sitting on his desk still ticking as it usually did as it still had some of his chakra inside of it. As he looked to it he closed his eyes in contemplation, with the power of watch he knew he could beat Neji no problem. However, he promised Kakashi he would take this test with his skill and his skill alone. Naruto then formed a small smile. For he was a ninja of his word, to which win or lose he was going to keep his promise. However, he wanted to keep the watch with him as a good luck charm. So holding the watch to his face, "Mom, Dad, wish me luck," as he pocketed the device. He soon ran out the door towards the stadium where the Chunin finals were now going to begin. Konoha, Tournament Stadium. After getting all the lords, nobles, and important figures seated, everyone else was then seated into their assigned stadium seats. As the latter part was going on, Genma, the new proctor for this exam, walked in, followed by all the participants as they lined up parallel behind him. For the Konoha portion of the group, they were curious to why there was a new proctor when Heiichi should have been the one running this event. However, they didn't delve much into it, as they were pretty certain they must have had their reason. But to those it concerned, they were also curious to why Sasuke wasn't present. Then once again they didn't want to delve into it, as he probably had his reason too for coming late. Unknown place. Sasuke gave a sneeze. "Damn it, I'm late." Konoha, Tournament Stadium. As the group looked out to the stands that ranged in the hundreds that came to watch them fight, their attention was soon drawn back to their ref. "Hey, stop looking around," said Genma. "Face the customers, because this is the main tournament and you guys are the stars." Even after this, Naruto couldn't help but let his mind wander. For in his particular thought process, he gave Gaara a quick glimpse as he was still troubled from what he knew. He didn't know if it was from instinct or the Kyuubi inside of him, but he knew the Sand Jinchuriki was dangerous. Just being this close to him gave him the willies. "You better be careful, Sasuke." Unbeknownst to the Konoha portion, the Sand siblings looked up as Baki, the head leader of their clan, gave them a nod, to which they nodded back in response. Meanwhile, as this was going on, the Hokage and the Kazekage talked amongst themselves. "You must be tired," said Hiruzen. "It must have been quite the trip." "Not at all," said the Kazekage. "It's a good thing that it is being held here this time. The trip might have been a bit too much for you, Hokage-sama. Perhaps it might be time for you to decide on a successor." The elder Hokage gave a light laugh to this. "I haven't gone senile yet. I intend to do this job for a while longer." He then looked out as he gave a nod. "It looks like it's about time to begin." So getting up and standing near the edge, he then started his announcements. "Thank you everyone for coming to the Hidden Leaf Chunin selection exam. We will now start the main tournament matches between the 11 participants who made it through the preliminaries. So please stay and watch till the end," to which everyone cheered too. The Kazekage eyed the participants below. "If it's 11. I believe one is missing." At saying that, Hiruzen eyed him warily, as something about his statement implied something he somewhat vaguely didn't like. Now back on the ground level, Genma began explaining how things were going to go, to which Naruto was first to interrupt. "But wait. Sasuke isn't here yet. Couldn't we wait just a bit longer? If he doesn't appear by the time of his match, he will be disqualified." Genma soon gave a cough to correct himself. "Alright guys, this is the final test. The arena is different, but the rules are the same, as it's anything goes so long as you are the last one standing. Victory and defeat conditions are still the same, as your opponent may forfeit, be unconscious, or dead. But if we determine either fighter is unable to fight any longer, we'll stop the match, declaring the winner. So does everyone understand?" Everyone gave a nod to this. "Good, now the first fight will be Naruto Uzumaki vs Neji Hyuga. Those two stay here while the rest of you can go to the waiting room. Good luck, Naruto, you're going to need it," which was more or less what every one of the Konoha guys had to say to him before leaving. However, Hinata was uncertain of what to say. True, she wanted to wish Naruto good luck, but Neji was family and that meant something to her. "Leave, then," said the Hyuga prodigy aggressively. "You're in the way." Hinata shuddered at this, as even after all this time she still couldn't quite face him. So giving him a quick bow, "Have a good match, Neji-kun, Naruto-kun," as she soon departed the field. Thanks Hinata-chan, as he waved her goodbye. But upon he leaving, he turned back as he somewhat glared at Niji. He must have something he wants to say to me. Niji somewhat arrogantly smirked. Meanwhile at the stands, everyone was chattering to who they believed was going to win. Some were evening betting on the outcome of the matches. With just match 1 alone, everyone was in favor for Niji to win, as the betting poll was overwhelmingly in his favor due to his age, experience, and the fact he was a Hyuga. But they'll be sorry, commented Kiba as he finally found a seat to watch the matches from. Naruto's never been one to not go done without a fight. Plus he has a high tendency of surprising people. I don't know, then said Ino, who found a seat next to him. Everyone else doesn't think so by the looks of the poll. The dog ninja smirked as he rubbed his thumb and index finger together. Well, I know I already placed my bet on Naruto. I'm pretty certain he'll pull out something interesting for us to see. If he loses, I'm sure he'll put on one hell of a show. Kiba. You're too young to be gambling. Why not? I'd make a killing if I won, which caused the light blonde to lecture him further. However, Akamaru, who was hanging on his shoulder, soon barked in his ear. Kiba then looked up to see a peculiar sight, as numerous Umbu seemed to have been sitting at the stands as well. Umbu? What are special forces like them doing here? Is something going on? Now back on the ground, both Niji and Naruto squared off against each other, as neither one of them appeared a bit intimidated in each other's presence. Both ninjas were confident in their skills, as soon they would clash against each other in a hellfire of fists and fury. For both boys had something they wanted to prove. They both knew that this was not only the time and place, but also the only way they could express what they had to say. Genma looked between them as he raised his hand in the air. Now let the first match begin, to which Naruto and Niji took their stances, as they were now ready to clash everything they had against each other in the very first match of the Chunin selection tournament. Now let the match begin, announced Genma as the crowd roared in cheers to the upcoming battle. For all eyes were on the ground below as Naruto Uzumaki faced off against Niji Hyuga in classic showdown, as the two boys were in their specific fighting stance as they stared at each other. Seeing as this was the first match of the finals, everyone was expecting it to be an exploding start. Yeah, this is going to be awesome. An Uzumaki versus a Hyuga, this ought to be interesting. Yeah. Let's see some ass kicking going on. Come on Naruto, win me some big money, as Kiba crossed his fingers to this. This ought to be good, said Ino as she watched the match below. At some other part of the crowd seating, Kakashi, Guy, and Lee watched the match below with some intrigue. Good luck Naruto-kun, as Lee stared intensely at the match below. See Kakashi, pointed out the elder green beast. Your Naruto has much learning to do before he can match my Niji. What? Did you say something? The silver-haired ninja questioned, which irked Guy considerably. But as Kakashi looked to the arena down below, come on Naruto, you can do it. Now on the ground, both boys held their stances as they looked to each other, trying to see a weakness in each other's technique. However, neither of them dared to move, as they both knew that a fight can easily end in an instant if one of them were careless. As Niji shifted his hand a bit, his eyes narrowed at seeing Naruto shifting the angle of his body away from his center. It's as I thought. Hinata-sama has versed him well in our Hyuga arts. He's anticipating my move by trying to cover his critical chakra points from attack. He might even be aware of some of the main branch's techniques. This fight may become quite troublesome. His eyebrow then rose in peculiarity as his opponent had suddenly dropped his guard. What is he getting at? Why leave himself vulnerable like this? But then, seeing Naruto's eyes focus to his, he gave a bit of a smirk. It looks like there is something you want to say to me, as he too lowered his hands. Naruto narrowed his eyes as he glared at him. Let it go Niji. It wasn't Hinata-chan's fault for what happened to your dad. Your anger is misplaced. For what happened that night was no one's fault but the perpetrator himself. So I ask of you, let go of your anger for what happened. Now in the rarest events, Niji's prized calm was shaken with that statement as he felt his anger float to the surface as it began to become apparent on his face. I suggest you be silent now, as his rage began to vaguely reflect in his tone. I won't, Niji. You have to stop this. Hinata-chan does worry about you, believe or not, and I will tell you that your anger will only lead to more suffering. So for Hinata-chan's sake and yours, let it go. Niji grinded his teeth at this as his eyes began to stare at the blonde with intent that would intimidate a lesser person. You know nothing of suffering or my anger towards the main clan. This talk of family, unity, and guardianship is all but lies to conceal the truth that we branch members are nothing but slaves to main family. If they tell us to jump, we say how high. If they tell us to bark, we say how loud. If they tell us to die, we die. You tell me, Naruto, as his tone now reeked venomously. How is it fair that my father had to die like that and I was just to accept it for what it was? Naruto's eyes narrowed at this as he could not rebuttal against something like that. His pain is deeper than I thought. He soon closed his eyes, reopening them, reflecting a kind of calm behind them, then change. Things don't have to stay like this, Niji. We can change the Hyuga destiny if you tried. Things can be better than this. The Hyuga prodigy scoffed at his notion. Fool. You're damn fool, Naruto. You still don't understand that this isn't some fantasy world we live in. This is real life to which everything is bound to a certain destiny that cannot be overturned. Niji then lowered himself back into his stance. I'll make sure you learn this well as I crush you. The blonde Jinchuriki closed his eyes to this before reopening them, going back to his stance. Fine, Niji. If that's how it's going to be, then I'll beat it into you that the future isn't set in stone. Enough talk, as Niji dashed in with one of his strikes. At seeing the incoming attack, Naruto parried his arm as he pushed away as far as he could to offset him. However, he would not be having that, as Niji would not allow his opponent any time to counter as he repeatedly attacked, forcing Naruto to retreat with each move. This is getting tricky. If he gets too close he might hit one of my chakra points. Naruto was on the defensive as Niji was far faster than he anticipated, as he had to use chakra just to keep up. But just looking at how relaxed his movements was, he could tell that his Hyuga opponent has yet to show his real power, as he was either toying with him or testing him. But either way, he needed to pick up the pace if he wanted to win. I need more room to breathe, to which kicking off the ground, getting enough distance between them, Naruto used his familiar cross seal. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. This technique instantly created 3 clones next to him. The blonde then looked to his clones as he gave a nod to them. You know what I'm thinking, right? Yeah. Let's do it. Let's get into position. The 4 Narutos then ran around Niji as they then had him surrounded as they covered his sides, back and front. Alright, attack. Annoyances. Niji grimaced as he now had to effectively multitask as the 4 Narutos were fighting in sync with each other, leaving him no opportunity to fight back, as 2 of the Narutos would attack at the same time while he was fending off the other 2. Niji then couldn't help but clench his teeth at taking a few solid punches to his ribs and gut. Fine then, if it's come to this, as he started focusing chakra to his eyes, Byakugan. With the activation of his eye technique, the Hyuga prodigy was easily fending off the 4 blondes as the balance of the fight became even again. The crowds above roared in cheers at the intensity of the match. Amazing. Neither of them is letting up one bit. Unbelievable, that little blonde shrimp is putting up a better fight than I thought. I probably should have bet on him too. Come on. More, give us more, as the cheers went. Wow, this is intense, said Kiba. Yeah, agreed Ino. With the way this fight has been going, it could be anyone's win. Holy crap, said Shikamaru as he was watching the match from above as he was sitting on the very edge of his seat. I didn't think Naruto was this kick-ass. To make even a Hyuga like Niji work this hard for a win is unbelievable. Impressive, perhaps I should fight Naruto one of these days, said Shino. Incredible, said Sakura as she watched in awe. I knew Naruto had skill. But I didn't think he was that good. Did you know about this, Hinata, as she looked to the pale girl? Hinata nodded sheepishly to this. Naruto-kun is very strong, but as she looked away a bit. Niji-kun is also really strong. Don't worry, as the pink kunoichi patted her on the back. Naruto will definitely pull out a win on this one. Just have more faith in the doofus, okay? However, that wasn't the problem. Of course she had absolute faith in Naruto's abilities, but Niji was family. So it made things difficult for her to decide on what to do. But nevertheless, good luck you two. Now back to the arena floor, hey Niji. Bombs away, as Naruto had created more clones as they started to do suicide runs right at the Hyuga, which forced Niji to run as distance was his friend now. As for Naruto himself, he didn't really like using the Bakuretsu Bunshin no Jutsu as the clones still transmitted the information back to him, to which self-destructing was not exactly a pleasant feeling. However, this technique was necessary now as he had to tip the scale of this battle back in his favor. But Niji had a counter in mind as he would forcibly make them disappear. So taking out several kunais and shurikens, he threw them out, forcing the clones to dispel as they were damaged. At seeing the first clone he attacked explode upon impact, Niji smirked as he saw something that could work in his favor. So taking careful aim, and planning his strategy to have the Naruto clones spread out, he threw a kunai at each of them, which exploded them all around the arena grounds as a smoke screen formed around the arena, which hindered the sight of everyone, even the crowd above, due to the smog. However, those with special eyes didn't have a problem as they were able to see through it. Too easy, Niji arrogantly smirked as the smog was no hindrance to his Byakugan as he could see Naruto within the disturbance as clear as day. Oh, not good, said the blonde as he couldn't even see his hand in front of his face. He used my technique against me. Aw man, what am I going to do? For Naruto knew his chakra channels would light him up in the fog under the gaze of the Byakugan, which definitely spelled trouble for him if he didn't either find a way to clear out the smog or somehow see through it. All Niji really had to do was touch him and it would be over. But seeing that he had no way of seeing through the confusion or clearing it out, then what he had to do was force Niji into the same situation. I don't want to use Bakuretsu Bunshin no Jutsu, or else this fog will never clear and there is a good chance I might get caught up in the blast. Alright. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. Niji-sai narrowed at this as he was seeing multiple chakra channels all around him. Damn him and his blasted technique. Meanwhile, above, Hinata, Hanabi, Hayashi, and every other Hyuga around were still able to watch the match undeterred. Please be careful, Naruto-kun, thought Hinata as she was watching this match very closely. Hey Hinata, tell us what's going on down there, said Sakura as she along with everyone else gave slight coughs from inhaling the dust from the explosions. Wait, thought Naruto. I might be able to also use this to my advantage as the blonde created more clones. But I'll have to do this in hit and run. Niji scanned around to see roughly 12 clones is close proximity to each other. I can't differentiate the difference between them because their chakra is evenly divided between them all. I don't think he would use that explosive technique of his as it would not work in his favor. Then looking to the closest one to him. Then I'll have to knock them out one at a time till I get the right 1 inch, to which with that Niji dashed towards one of the Narutos as he struck his heart. But upon impact he dispersed in a puff of smoke. Fine, then the next one. What? As he looked to see one of the Narutos launching at him with his fist. How can he know I'm here, as he blocked the attack, striking that Naruto as he too dispersed in a puff of smoke, to which was followed by another Naruto running in to attack. This dust is killing my eyes, as Naruto didn't feel comfortable fighting with eyes closed. The blonde was creating more clones as discreetly as possible, matching their chakra values to his own to keep up the ruse. With each clone that Niji destroyed, it sent information back to himself and his clones to where he was, which sent his next clone in to attack. However, Neji kept moving, which forced Naruto to keep up with this strategy, as it was like he was playing aggressive hide and seek in the dark. But I need to end this now. So doubling the number of clones he had, they all started to wander out to every corner of the arena, effectively creating a sensor net around them. Since all the Narutos knew the plan, it was just up to Neji to trip the trap. Once his opponent destroyed one of his clones, that's when they all converged on him. Neji's expression hardened at this, as his Byakugan was not exactly designed to fight a battle like this. His eyes, when activated, interpreted information differently than his normal eyes, which made it difficult to focus on what he was seeing as he was fighting. At destroying 8 clones that came at him, he suddenly lost his balance as one of the Narutos did a slide trip, knocking one of his legs as another one span in with a spinning elbow into his side. But even after taking such attacks, Neji didn't falter as he continued to fight back, destroying every Naruto that approached him. "Amazing," said one of the Hyugas sitting in the crowd. "What is?" asked the person sitting next to him. In such a situation like this, a Hyuga would definitely have the advantage, yet that Naruto brat is actually fighting back rather well. "What do you mean?" "You know, I can't see anything down there." In situations where we have to fight with your senses blinded, it's usually the person who can gather the most information on the environment and their enemy who will turn out victorious. Although the Byakugan can see through the smog, that Naruto brat is using his Kage Bunshin technique rather well, seeing as he hasn't been defeated yet. "Incredible," marveled the man. "I can't wait to see who wins this. This is just incredibly exciting." To those who were fortunate to be sitting next to a Hyuga in the crowd, everyone else just chanted out names and cheers for victory to come. After taking a few more hits, Neji's patience has all been worn out. Enough, as chakra began to come out from every chakra point in his body. Then kicking off the ground into a spin, Kaiten, as a sphere of chakra was formed, blowing out the smoke screen and destroying every Naruto nearby as the arena became clear once again. As this occurred, everyone roared in cheers to the spectacle. "Father!" Hanabi exclaimed at seeing what Neji had done. Hayashi was equally as stunned, as he didn't expect a branch member to know a main family technique like that, to which was the same reaction for most of the other Hyugas that were watching. Hinata could only watch on with concern, as she had a feeling that her cousin would know that technique. "Be careful, Naruto-kun." "Oh snap, I might actually lose my money here," said Kiba worriedly. "Is that the thing you're worried about?" then said Ino. "That's it," said Tenten, who was sitting and observing from the crowd. A small smirk then began to form. The ultimate unbeatable defense of the Hyugas, Kaiten. The weapon mistress then looked to now see one Naruto, as he seemed a bit bashful at what had just happened. "Sorry Naruto, but this is Neji's win, as his next attack is something you won't be able to guard against." Now back on the arena grounds, Naruto's eyes were a bit wide in surprise. Damn, that was one powerful Kaiten. It was even strong enough to blow away everything. Now this ends, which snapped Naruto out of his stupor, as he now looked to Neji with more focus. "You are now trapped in my circle of hack, there is no way for you to escape now," as he lowered himself into his gentle fist stance. "It was your destiny to lose to me in his match." Naruto then stood up, shaking himself off from the daze. "Are we back to this destiny crap again?" He then dusted his jacket of the dust that got on it, as he then folded his arms and stared at Neji. "You're going to use the 64 trigram, aren't you?" which surprised Neji a bit that Naruto would know about it, let alone that he was about to use it. "Fine, then come at me with everything you have and nothing less, because it will then be when I crush all that you built up from your hatred." Neji's eyes narrowed at this. "We'll see." Now in the crowd above, some of the Hyugas that were watching were confused to what Neji was doing. But for the main family members, they were all surprised that someone like Neji would know a technique like that. "Oh no," as Hinata held her mouth at what she was seeing. "What is it?" asked Sakura. "What is Neji doing?" "I don't recognize this technique." "What is it?" asked Shino. It's a main family's technique known as the 8 trigram 64 palms, to which everyone then looked to her to continue. This technique is a devastating attack which doesn't only damage its opponent, but it also seals the chakra and movements of those it hit. Damn, Naruto is in trouble, said Shikamaru. Chuji began to eat his chips more intensely at the escalating events. Not good, thought Naruto. Looking around his space in the arena, there was no way for him to escape Niji's attack range. But that's when he felt the circular object in his pocket. The watch. If I use its jump ability, I can easily escape the attack and get him from behind. However, he then mentally smacked himself for that. Then I would be breaking my promise to Kakashi-sensei. Plus, as he looked to Niji preparing to attack him, I have to show this Jaka *** where real skill comes from. With that, Niji dashed in for the attack. 2 strikes, as Niji struck twice. 4 strikes, hitting 4 times simultaneously. 8 strikes, hitting 8 times simultaneously. 16 strikes, hitting 16 times simultaneously. 32 strikes, hitting 32 times simultaneously. Then finally, 64 strikes, hitting 64 times simultaneously. As each hit made contact, Naruto was forced back at the intensity of the attack. Upon Niji finishing his technique, the blonde Jinchuriki was blasted back as he was now down upon one knee. The Hyuga prodigy then relaxed his stance as he now stood up looking over Naruto. Many murmurs could be heard from the crowd as it ranged from what they saw to if someone had actually won now. Hanabi was slightly gaping as she was dumbstruck to what she saw. For a branch member to use a technique like that. She then looked to her father. It's over now, isn't it? Hayashi's eyes narrowed to this. No, it hasn't. Huh? Hinata looked to the arena as she was now gripping the guard rail at how intense this all was. Naruto-kun. I guess it's over, said Sakura sadly as Naruto didn't seem to be getting up. I don't think so, said Shikamaru as he soon sat back down from his excitement. What? You'll see, said Shino. However, it might be over for Naruto soon. Niji then started to walk up to Naruto as the blonde started to get up. You can't possibly beat me now. Not in the condition you're in. Naruto gave a cocky smirk to this. Don't count me out, to which he gave a slight cringe in pain, just yet. The Hyuga prodigy narrowed his eyes at this. You did well in blocking most of my strikes with your hands and forearms, as he looked to how bruised and bloody they were. But my eyes tell me that I sealed the chakra in your arms. You have no way to use any of your jutsus now. Surrender, or this time I'll make sure I won't miss. Fat chance, Niji. There's no way I'm going to lose to you. I still have to give you an attitude adjustment after all. Niji cracked his knuckles at this. That was a courtesy warning. But if you so insist, then so be it, as when you go down you will not get up again, as he lowered himself back into his stance. Yeah, we'll see about that. However, Naruto knew better. Damn, my hands are all but crippled, as his arms twitched in pain. At this point all he would be doing in bluffing, as he was pretty sure he couldn't take another barrage of Niji's technique. Plus the fact he was no taijutsu expert like Lee, so he couldn't very well kick Niji into submission. Even if he wanted to use his watch, his hands were in no condition to be holding anything. At seeing how bleak his options were, that's when he remembered something that Jiraiya told him concerning the Kyuubi's chakra. Flashback, healing. Naruto questioned as he was slurping down his Ichiraku ramen. Yes, said Jiraiya. A partnership, whether it were consensual or not, the Biju's chakra that is constantly flowing through the Jinchuriki's chakra channels has a kind of regenerating effect on its user. Depending on how much power is being used determines how quickly the regeneration works. He then looked to the blonde. I believe you felt this before, haven't you? Or at least in some passive manner, right? Naruto looked up from his bowl as he thought about it. Well, I'm not sure. When I was sent to the hospital a couple of times, the medic ninjas there were usually surprised at how fast I would bounce back, as they would tell me it would take a normal person days to heal. So. Yeah, I think so. Jiraiya gave a nod to this. Yes, that is the effect of the Bjuis chakra. Since you have learned to summon the Kyuubi's power, not only will it enhance your strength, speed, and chakra potency, but also your healing abilities. However, which caught the blonde's attention. The Bjuis chakra works like a double-edged sword. For remember, their chakra concentration is far denser than that of a human, making it volatile to us. So keep in mind to use the Kyuubi's chakra sparingly and in short durations, as it will quickly wear out your body from the constant burning and regeneration you have to go through, which both takes energy to do. Although it may seem small, keep in mind that multiple small events can add up into a big problem. Sounds rough. I can't really imagine myself needing to use it then. Well, using that power in small amounts should be fine, as Jiraiya patted him over the head. Just use it wisely, got it, kid? Yeah, we'll see. End flashback. Come on, you stupid fox, as Naruto began to concentrate. Give me your power, as a faint orange chakra began to appear. Niji's eyes widened at feeling the ominous force. What is that? With his Byakugan eyes, he saw some orange energy as it began to twist into the form of a fox as it started to howl at him. Unknown to him, he began to step back as cold sweat of fear began to form. For the Konoha citizens that sat in the crowd watched in a mixture of fear and awe at feeling that familiar evil chakra. Sarutobi was even surprised at feeling this presence after so many years. Naruto, was it Jiraiya who taught you to use this power? Orochimaru, under the guise of the Kazekage, was surprised at this feeling. The Kyuubi's chakra. How many years has it been since I felt this evil? What the hell was that? Questioned Kiba as Akamaru slightly cowered back on his shoulder. I suddenly feel a bit cold. Shivered Ino. As Shino felt his bugs reacting weirdly inside him. What is this feeling? Questioned Sakura. Hinata's eyes at this time were activated as she could see the Kyuubi's chakra as clear as day. So that's the Kyuubi inside Naruto-kun. Now back on the arena ground, what the hell is this power? Questioned Niji. But then, strengthening his resolve, he stood firm before the blonde. It felt like he was standing in front of something enormous. However, he refused to allow something like that to deter him from his victory. So getting back into his stance, I refuse to lose to you, as he charged in, striking at Naruto's chest. However, his hand was grabbed in mid-strike, which surprised him that he could catch his attack at such speeds, let alone catch it all. But then, sending his other hand, Naruto caught that one too. What? Now looking at the blonde's hands, they were healing right before his eyes as if nothing had happened to them before. What is the meaning of this? Naruto then looked up as he lifted his leg, kicking Niji away several feet. What is with this strength, as he almost felt like doubling over from getting hit. Yeah, that's it, Naruto smirked as he clenched his fist, feeling that his arms were back to normal, or probably even better, at the power he was generating. He then looked to Niji. Alright, let's end this, shall we? Niji's face tightened at this. Whatever he's doing, his power is too much to fight directly. I'll have to fight at a distance, as he pulled out several kunais and shurikens, taking aim. Alright, let's do it, as Naruto pulled out his own kunais and shurikens, taking aim. Like a machine, both ninjas started throwing their weapons at each other as they collided against one another in midair, falling harmlessly to the ground. But after a few minutes, when both ninjas had exhausted their immediate supply, Naruto kicked off the ground, dashing in for the kill. Here I come, Niji. I'm going to end this. No, you won't. Seeing the blonde coming right at him and timing it to the second, he kicked off the ground into a circular motion. Kaiten. Just as Naruto's fist collided against it, he was immediately shot back, hitting the ground rather hard. Damn, that hurt, Naruto hissed as he slowly stood back up. He then looked to see that Niji was breathing heavily, indicating that this match was going to end soon between them. Now looking at his hand, Ero-sanin was right with the wearing out part. I better end this fast. So looking back to Niji, he'll just use Kaden again if I try to charge and head on, and I can't afford to get smacked around by that technique again. But now thinking about it, well, might as well see what that technique will do against him, seeing as we both got nothing to lose here. With that, Naruto used Kage Bunshin, creating one clone of himself as he stood next to him. You got the plan right? To which the clone nodded. What is he up to? Niji questioned. Seeing two Narutos now, he must be trying to bait me into using Kaden again while offsetting my timing. But then a smirk formed. But I won't let that happen. I'll crush you with everything that I am. With that, the two Narutos ran towards him as one of the Narutos was slightly ahead of the other, as they seemed to have been up to something. So which one is the real body, as he looked between them? But then quickly closing into him, the second Naruto jumped ahead in an attempt to attack him. However, he easily jabbed him in the gut, which forced his target to disperse. Then this must be the real Naruto, to which at the last possible moment, Kaden. As a giant sphere emerged, Naruto had his own something in his hand as he braced his legs into the ground. I have no idea how this will turn out, but here I go. Raising his hand with the sphere of chakra that was there, Naruto finally learned what the technique was called from the notes as he smashed it against Kaden while calling out its name. Rasengan. In an explosion of power, both techniques collided to which one of them had to give. But after a moment it became apparent which one won, as Naruto's miniature chakra bullet shattered Niji's technique, but only barely, as his technique soon disappeared too. But not allowing himself to lose momentum, he kicked up, punching Niji in the face with all he had, which sent the Hyuga prodigy flying several feet away. Upon that finish, the match was concluded. At seeing this ending, and the winner is Uzumaki Naruto, announced Genma, to which the crowd erupted into cheers. Way to go, Shrimp. Good job, you little brat. Yeah. Naruto looked up as a fond smile began to form. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you everyone, as he began to run around giving a victory lap. Sarutobi gave a soft sigh at this. The crowd must be rather impressed at Naruto. He not only showed that he could control the Kyuubi's power but also demonstrated a technique that should have been impossible for someone of his caliber. The Sandaime then stood up as he too started to clap his hand. Well done, Naruto, well done. Back at the crowd, Kiba was jumping in joy. Hell yeah, what a killing I made, as he had a big stack of money in his hand. I think I deserve some of that, said Ino as she took 3/4 of the dog ninja's stack. Hey! Don't steal my hard-earned cash. Go earn your own. My God, said Shikamaru in his seating area. That was one hell of a win. Shino remained silent as he continued to watch as Chuji slowed down his eating rate. Incredible, shouted Sakura. Naruto actually pulled out a win from the very jaws of defeat. Hinata clasped her hands together as she smiled fondly. Naruto-kun. Lee was wide-eyed as his mouth slightly hung to what he was witness to. Niji-kun. Lost. Niji. You fought well, said Guy. Kakashi was both proud and surprised of what Naruto had accomplished. Naruto. When or even how did you learn that technique? During this entire event, Hayashi sat calmly as he didn't partake in the crowd's antics. During the entire match he heard every word Niji had said as he then closed his eyes in contemplation. It's time now, as he soon got up to leave. Father, questioned Hanabi. Just wait here, Hanabi. I'll be back some time later as these guards will watch over you, to which he then left. Now back of the arena ground, medic Nines came by to scoop up Niji, who was unable to move at the moment due to being kind of out of it. Then after some transporting, the Hyuga prodigy was taken to the medical wing, to which Tenten and Hinata were present to see if he was okay. Even Lee came by to see if his #1 rival was going to make it so he can fight him again someday soon. Then shortly after, Naruto arrived to see Niji resting in bed as Tenten was sitting bedside to him with Hinata standing next to her as Lee was up in his usual high spirit annoying Niji as he usually did. Naruto looked to the Hyuga prodigy as something was now on his mind as his match with Niji had got him thinking about something. Naruto-kun? Hinata questioned as she peeled herself away from her cousin to stand next to Naruto. The blonde Jinchuriki closed his eyes in thought as he soon grabbed Hinata's hand. I need to talk to you about something. Okay, she nodded as they both then stepped outside. So what's on your mind, Naruto-kun? It's been bothering me for all these years to what happened to Niji's dad, and it still hurts me today that I couldn't do more. Naruto-kun. I was just a scared kid then. But it ate at me that I could have done so much more if I were braver that day you were taken. Naruto-kun, as Hinata was starting to get worried as she had a feeling that she knew where her blonde friend was going to take this. Most people don't ever get a second chance as they prayed with everything they had that they had the power to change that one instance in their lives. Naruto then took the watch out from his pocket as he looked to it. But I have the power. The power of a second chance as I can save Hisashi's life. All I have to do is input the right sequence into the watch and jump back in time to stop you from ever getting kidnapped. If I do so, then Hisashi would not have to die and Niji would never have to suffer like this. You can't. Hinata exclaimed as she slapped her hand over the watch. You remember what your dad wrote, right? He said it should never be done as it's too dangerous. But it's Niji's dad, Hinata-chan. Naruto retorted. Your uncle. I have to do this. The pale girl looked away at this. Like her blonde friend, if there was a chance to save her uncle she would want to try. But as the notes had stated, the danger was too great and she didn't want anything to happen to Naruto. But Naruto-kun, as she started to shy away. No, I'm going to do this, as he pulled his hand back as he started inputting the sequence. I know what I have to do to fix things and I'm going to make everything right, alright, all I have to do is focus and imagine where I want to go just like the Hiraition. At finishing the sequence, his figure began to distort and glow as the technique was about to start. Wait! Naruto-kun, as Hinata went to grab him. Just as she touched him, they both disappeared in a flash of light. Unknown place, unknown time, ah! Naruto yelped as he fell to the ground in pain. Naruto-kun! Hinata exclaimed as she knelt down next to him. Are you okay? Are you feeling alright? The blonde Jinchuriki took some pained breaths which slowly went to heavy which eventually regressed to slow breaths as Naruto soon stood up followed by Hinata. I'm okay, Hinata-chan. It just took a lot of power out of me all at once to use. I guess I should have rested a bit more before going half-cocked into this. Then calming himself a bit, he looked to his pale friend. But you shouldn't have come. You should have left me to deal with this on my own. Hinata shook her head at this. No, this is my problem too and I can't let you deal with this on your own, as she was now giving him a rather serious look. Naruto continued to stare at her, but then sighed at this. I can't make Hinata-chan change her mind when she gets like this. Fine fine, he exhaled, just stay close to me at all costs, okay, to which Hinata nodded too. But first off, as he looked around. Where are we? What do you mean, Naruto-kun? I followed the instructions for this technique exactly to which we were supposed to be at your house 1 hour before you were taken. But, as he looked around a bit more. This doesn't look like the Hyuga's estate. Hinata then took notice of this as she looked around. This doesn't look like any room I recognize. Naruto-kun, did something go wrong? I don't know. Let's find some paper and see that we are at least in the right time. Okay, as she started to look about. But now as the pair looked around, it was quite apparent that the room was some kind of study as it was littered with books, papers, a huge assortment of tools, and schematics of some sort. Finally finding a newspaper, Naruto went wide-eyed to what he saw. Oh crap, as he gaped to what he was reading. This paper is from 14 years ago. I completely overshot our intended time by a little over 7 years. Although he yelled all this out, he turned to see that Hinata wasn't paying attention as she appeared to be transfixed on something else. Hinata-chan. Didn't you hear me? We've completely overshot where we are supposed to be. However, the pale girl still didn't move as she was still focused on whatever she was looking at. Hinata-chan. Naruto-kun, as she turned her head to look at him before turning back to what caught her attention. The blonde Jinchuriki then stood beside his friend too. Which he too then became transfixed to what she saw. It can't be. He then took out his watch. Looking to the object that was being held by a clamp on the desk. That watch. It's the exact same as mine, as he looked back and forth to see that every last detail between the watches were the exact same from the color to the engravings all around the cover. What does this mean? Hinata asked as she pointed between them. However, Naruto was speechless as he didn't understand what this was supposed to mean. But then, hearing some noise in the background, Naruto was ready to jump back into action. Someone coming. We have to hide. But where? Said Hinata. There is nowhere to hide. As the two children began to panic, they were running all over the place as they had no idea what to do or how to react to the person who was about to walk right through the door frame. They were pretty sure that whoever the person was isn't going to believe that they invaded their home by accident and that they were from the future. Hearing the person's footsteps come closer, both children paused as they had no choice but to accept the inevitable. Who's there? Asked the voice as the person was now standing at the door frame ready to fight whoever trespassed into their room. As the person stood there, both Naruto and Hinata felt their mouths hang open and go dry as they couldn't believe who was now standing before them. The fourth Hokage, they both thought in unison. Yandeme-sama, shouted Hinata as she quickly bowed her head. We are very sorry for entering your home without permission. Please allow us to explain why we are here. Naruto's eye twitched as he couldn't believe his idol was standing right in front of him like this. The yandeme is right here in front of me. Although he stood there, Naruto was having a strange mix of feelings as he felt both admiration and intense rage towards the man who was the savior of Konoha as well as the very man who messed up his life. While the two children were stuck in their own little worlds, Minato slowly calmed himself as he didn't see that anything was stolen or damaged. Since the children didn't give off any sense of danger to him, his features softened as he displayed a calming smile. It's alright, you two. There is no need for you to act flustered like this. Since nothing was stolen or damaged, then you two are more than welcome to be on your way. But... Or did you come here to get an autograph or something? To which Minato gave a light laugh too. Both Naruto and Hinata gave off a strained chuckle. Ah. It's not like that. Then why are you here? But that's when Minato's eyes widened as seeing what the blonde child was holding. Then quickly looking to his desk and then back to the boy, that's when he started to analyze every square inch of him from the color of his hair and eyes to the details of his expressions. Then, getting on one knee to get a better look at the boy, he stared right into his eyes. Is there something wrong? As Naruto started to feel a bit awkward. Minato then narrowed his eyes at him as he slowly began to speak. Are you Naruto? The blonde Jinchuriki and the Hyuga heiress almost felt like jumping out of their skin at what the elder blonde man had just stated. How do you know my name?
That's it for this video. I hope you all enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and follow me on my other social media accounts. Anime God here, and I'm signing off.